What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be taking a look at Nacelle's Biker Mice from Mars. We've got Throttle and we've got his Martian Monster Bike. So let's see what we've got going on. Let's check it out. As promised, today we'll be taking a look at Throttle and his Martian Monster Bike. So let's see what we've got going on. Alright, so the Nacelle Biker Mice from Mars, the mice themselves have been out for a little bit of time, so you may have come across this, you may have seen them. I really haven't seen too many out in the stores, so when I did, I was happy that I did. So the bikes are kind of new though, starting to trickle out. Maybe you've seen them, maybe you haven't. But here we go, we got the package. Biker Mice from Mars. Nice callback to my childhood, right? Such a random thing. Now, if I can get some BC bikers, I think we're on to something, right? But here's Throttle. This is the only one I'm going to get from these. I don't need to build out a whole thing, but as I said, it's a nice callback to my childhood, so I wanted to get Throttle. He was my favorite as a kid, so I'll put him on the shelf and call it a day. He's got a sprocket launcher, comes with the hot dog, nice touch, right? So you've got some extra hands, you've got extra heads, some accessories. The window is really cut off by the logo here. You would like to see maybe that shrunken a little bit. You want to see what's in the package, right? So anyway, you do get to see some. It does look pretty decent. Flip it to the side. There's your Biker Mice from Mars logo. Throttle, leader of the Biker Mice. A nice cartoon image of him down there. Flip it to the back. Here's some more of the characters, right? So you can collect them all. They're all out. I did see the other two, just decided not to pick them up. There's your blurb. As the clear-headed thinker of the group, Throttle makes an ideal leader. Calm and sure of himself, he's slow to push into a fight, but ready for action whenever Limburger and his goons get out of line. He keeps Vinny out of trouble most of the time, and Moto on track. Throttle has a Biker Mice from Mars tattoo on his right arm. Kind of ended on a weak note there. Flip it to this side. Another image of Throttle there. Let's take a look at the bike in the box. Alright, so we've got the bikes coming out. They've got light up headlights. That's cool. It says rocket, so does it actually project? We'll see. That would be cool. Another hot dog. You're going to get a bunch of hot dogs if you collect this line. Biker Mice from Mars down there. On your sides, you do get an image of the bike. You also get some cartoon imagery on the back there. Riding his Martian Monster Bike, Throttle leads the Biker Mice with style, whether it's through the rough canyons of Mars or the mean streets of Chicago. With his tried and true ride that responds to all freedom fighter attack maneuvers, Throttle stays one step ahead of Lawrence Limburger's evil thugs. This motor monster is always prepared with its frontal rockets and laser gun. When it's tail whipping time, the cycle's firepower is unstoppable. There you go. That's a good one. All right, imagery there. Like it. Flip it to the side. Another picture of the actual toy bike there. Martian dust cloud tire stand, rolling wheels. Put Throttle in the driver's seat for rockin' rides. Figure sold separately, but we've got the figure. Now let's get him out of the box. Fresh out of the box, we can get a good look at the figure. The bike right next to him, we'll get a closer look at that here shortly. But we'll look at the figure first, right? That's the starting point for this. The bike just goes along. Figure looks good. First look, what I don't like about this figure are the ball hips, right? I feel like in 2025, we really should have moved past that. Now, you could argue 2024 for the figures, whatever, 2024, we should have moved way past ball hips. Is it a major detractor? I think from afar you won't notice. It just feels very outdated for a new figure, that's all. But that aside, this looks great. I mean, it looks like Throttle. Looks like a much better version than the action figure I had as a kid. Nice update. It's going to look good on the display. I'm especially happy that I have the bike to go along. You get a good amount of accessories here. So let's take a closer look. Moving in closer, we can get a good look at Throttle here. And like I said, I like it. The only thing that stands out is those ball hips, but it's just a really nice looking clean figure. Feels a little bit like higher end, but didn't really come with that big price tag, right? Could have been cheaper, I'm sure, but yeah, I mean, I feel close to competitive to say NECA or even like Super 7 and their subline, the like one with Thundercats coming out right now, the deluxe line, right? So along those lines, pretty good. It's got a lot of the detail there that you like to see. It's got the tattoo up there, the sunglasses or the glasses really, capture the element. He's got the ear. I mean, all the details there, right? It's a good looking figure for sure. He's got his weapon that actually fires. Don't worry, I'll find that later. He comes with a blaster. No effect for this, but still looks pretty decent. First alternate head with a really great expression. I like this. Even though I got the bike, I think I'm going to go helmetless. This will probably be the head I go with. Here's your helmeted head. Again, looks really good. That translucent plastic for the visor comes out really nice. Like this as an option for sure. A hot dog. And you've got an extra set of hands, so 3 total sets of hands. Here's a look at the first head sculpt. This is the one that comes in the package. Here's a look at your dumbbell there, so you can see what you're working with for the heads. Here is a look at your alternate head with the expressive face, and I do want to point out that the glasses do move and are removable from both of these heads. And then here is a look at the helmeted head. Of course, I understand a lot of people who are going to rock the bikes will likely use this head sculpt. For me, I just want to have the expression. For your hands, you do have your grasping hands. Now, these will likely be the ones that you use for the bike, at least one of them, right? So you'll be able to hold onto the handlebars. And then here's a look at the peg for the wrists, so you'll see how those hands are going to port on. Here is your open set of hands, and then here is your set of fists. For the articulation, the head will look down to there, chin about touching the bandana around the neck there, up and back to about there, so slight upward projection. You do get some good movement and rock around, all the way around, of course. And then, as I said, the sunglasses or glasses do move if you'd like. Arms do work all the way around, upper bicep cut, double jointed, pinless at the elbows there. Nothing at your forearm, and then you do have the ball with the hinge at the wrist. You do have an upper torso diaphragm cut there, which gives you some movement upward, and then you do have a hip swivel down there. Balls at the hip will give you that upward kick, backwards only to about there, up and out to about there. The holster doesn't get too much in the way. It is pliable plastic, so you are able to make those kicks. Again, ball hip just kind of sticks out. Double jointed, pinless at the knee. Now you'll see an obvious cut at the boot here, but there is no articulation at the boot. Seems a little odd. And then you do have your hinge and swivel at the ankle. The tail does move around, so that'll give you the ability to shift that however you might need to, especially with the bike. And then, as I mentioned, the holster, it is pliable. It is also a separate piece, so you can move that around. Bracelets are molded on both sides, so they don't move. Vest does give you a little bit of movement. You could likely take that off if you so desired, right? And then the scarf piece is attached to the vest, not to Throttle himself. Moving on to the bike, we'll take a look at that. First, let's look at the accessories. Probably the number one thing that was included with this bike for me is that smoke trail. The rear tire sits right in there. You could likely use this for other bikes from other lines, so I just love that this was included. You do get some rocket attachments, and then your rocket launcher. It was not a projectile, unfortunately. Some flame effects, blast effects, and of course, another hot dog. Here's a look at the bike with everything in place. So you have the flames coming out of the tailpipes there, the smoke trail on the back tire, your rockets, and the launcher all in place. And then, of course, it does light up, so you get that feature right on the front there. So simple, but so cool. It doesn't take much, right? Just a nice little light up front there. And then that, you just press the button there, like your gas cap area. So, really cool. I do dig that. Of course, your tires, they do rotate. So you get all that great realistic movement there. The tailpipes actually move, so you can adjust those depending on how you want. So I like that as an added feature, right? The kickstand will kick out, so you can use that there. It does stand with the kickstand, so simple features, but I like that. The rockets, they just clip on the front. Same with the blaster there, just clips right on. And then the flame effects, they port right in. So just like you would assume they would from any other toy line, right? So just a nice set of additions for this bike. Here's a look at Throttle on the bike. Works out really well. That is certainly going to display nicely on a shelf. So I do like that a lot. I really am looking forward to getting this on the shelf. For comparison, here he is backed up against a McFarlane Superman figure. So you can see that these scale a little bit under McFarlane's DC Multiverse. And then here he is backed up against a NECA Ultimate figure, Beetlejuice, the Bioexorcist version, coming in around the same height as this Beetlejuice, this Ultimate Beetlejuice. And then here he is backed up against your Marvel Legends Commander Rogers figure, just to give you an idea of how these might stand against your average Marvel Legends figure in your display. So the Nacelle biker mice do come in just a little bit taller than your average Marvel Legend figure. And to give you an idea of how the bike is going to scale, here's a Marvel Legends bike, a McFarlane bike, and then your Nacelle Biker Mice from Mars bike. Obviously, the Legends is going to scale smaller because it is for a smaller scale figure. And as we saw with the McFarlane figures, they are a little bit larger. So the McFarlane bike does come in just a little bit taller. I'm going to take a look at him on the McFarlane bike because I do think that you could make that work. But just to give you an idea of how these compare against each other. All right, so here he is on the Marvel Legends bike. You can see Throttle is just too big for this bike. And then conversely, just too small for the McFarlane bike. All right, folks, well, there you have it. There is your Biker Mice from Mars Throttle from Nacelle. Throttle himself, he's been out for a little bit now. The bikes, I think, are just starting to trickle out. So when I saw the two of these on the shelf next to each other, it felt like a no-brainer, something that I wanted to get for the shelf, and I'm happy I did. Very minor nitpick about this figure is just the ball hips. I've said it like 3 or 4 times at this point, only because that's the one thing that really sticks out to me as a misstep in this whole situation. Throttle himself looks great. The figure is very much capturing that nostalgic feel of the action figure I had as a child. So I am certainly glad to now have a modern version of that to represent the Biker Mice from Mars on my shelf. For me, this is where it ends. I'm not collecting anything else from Biker Mice from Mars, but had to get Throttle. He was my favorite as a kid, and he'll get a spot on the shelf. Everything else for this figure is great. The bike looks really nice. I like the light up feature. It's a minor thing, but something that's really cool. Price point is probably going to be a little bit high for some people based on the feel of this figure because, it does feel like a less expensive toy compared to where it's marked at. So, dollar to detail, we're right in the middle of the pack there. But the figure itself, I think, hits the marks and gets you there. So as a combination, I guess dollar to detail is there, folks. That's the 2 cents. I like this figure. Do what you want with that information. If you're looking for it, Walmart's where I found it. It's the only place I've seen it, so I don't know where else they might pop up, but they're out there. So I do wish you luck in your endeavors. Appreciate you checking out the video, staying this long if you have. Of course, you can always find me on any of these socials down here. Most importantly, though, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe below. And until next time, take it easy.